What is up, beautiful people? It's your girl Cam and I am back with another video. Today I'm coming at you with my June reading wrap up, and I know I'm a little late bringing it to you, but life is like that sometimes. So I wanted to make sure I brought it to you late as opposed to never. And in this video I'm going to be talking to you about all the books I read in the month of June and give you my thoughts on those books, and maybe even show you my journal and how things turned out with that in terms of my stats and my book reviews. So if you want to hear all about the books I read in June, just stay right there. Okay, so let's start off the bat with how many books I read in the month of June, because it's ridiculous, y'all. It's a little bit ridiculous. I read 13 books in June. Yeah, I said it.
13 books.
I was even thinking to myself, who am I? What has happened to me? How am I reading so many books? So I will just address the elephant in my room that you don't know about, but I am on a leave of absence from my job, and so I have more time than I used to have. And even before this, I don't watch a lot of television. I do look at YouTube, but I don't watch a lot of TV. I spend most of my time reading. And I just want to give you, if you're interested in reading more books in a month, I want to give you a couple of tips that have helped me to read more books. So I just want to do that super quick. I just want to give you 3 tips that will help you to read faster or read more. So the first one is cut down on your TV viewing. I know before I started reading a lot this year, I used to consume quite a bit of TV. I was heavy into series, and I was always just scrolling through Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu or Disney, just looking for something to watch, and I don't really do that anymore. Every once in a while I will sit and watch a movie with my mom or with my husband, or something will come out that I want to see. Like earlier this year I really wanted to watch the Queen Charlotte series, so I did watch that, but I read the book first. So that's my first tip. Cut back on your TV viewing time if you want to read more. And then the second tip is utilize Audible. Like, Audible has really helped me out a lot in consuming books. You do have to stay a little bit more focused though, because it's easy for your mind to start to wander if you're just listening to the book and you're not actually physically looking at the book and the pages or the tablet and reading it yourself. It's being read to you. But Audible is another great way to consume more books. And this is 2A. Listen to the Audibles on a faster speed than normal speed. Somebody told me, I think it was my colleague Susan, told me that there is some type of science behind listening to books at 2.0 speed. I haven't graduated to that yet, but I do listen to books at 1.5 or 1.75 now. I used to only do 1.25, but I might start out a book that way, and then once I get used to, I might start a book that way, but once I get used to the narrator's voice and the narrator's cadence, I can move up to 1.5, and I've even done 1.75. Maybe at some point I'll graduate to 2.0, but right now the highest that I've gone is 1.75. But that's a way for you to get through books faster. And there's also, from what I understand, some science to helping your brain when you listen to books at a faster speed, especially at 2.0. but I haven't graduated to that yet. So that's number 2, is listen to audiobooks. And you can get these audiobooks through Audible. You can get them through your public library. There's a website called Hoopla that you can look into, and you can listen to lots of different audiobooks that way. And number 3 is still related to audiobooks, and it is to tandem read. And I didn't even know this was a thing until maybe about a month or so ago. But tandem reading is listening to the audiobook while you are actually also physically reading through the book along with the narrator, along with the narrator, the voice. And here's why this is helpful. You know how when you're reading to yourself, if you make a mistake with a word, you go back and correct yourself? Do you do that? And I read out loud to myself sometimes too. I'm reading out loud because I like the drama of reading out loud. And I automatically correct myself. I go back if I make a mistake and I start over, and I correct the mistake I've made with whatever word I mispronounced, or I put words out of order or whatever. And that slows down your reading. But when you tandem read, when you're listening to the voice of the narrator reading the story to you, they've already perfected it. So you don't have to worry about them messing up because they've already pronounced every word correctly. And all you have to do is follow along. And then you can also speed it up to 1.25, 1.5, 1.75 and still read along with your novel. And I like doing this because that gives me the chance. I like doing the tandem reading because it gives me a chance to A, go through the books faster, and B, to pause the audio and take my notes, highlight my books, whatever I want to do, and then go right back to it. So those are my 3 tips for you: to cut back on TV viewing, to utilize audiobooks, and then to tandem read. Those are my tips if you are interested in reading books faster and reading more books. Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you. If it was, let me know down in the comments. But for now, let's get started with the books that I read this month. I did have a theme of the African diaspora for the month of June to celebrate Juneteenth, and let's just say that kind of went off track. That kind of went off the rail. I did get a lot of those books read, but I also started doing a bunch of mood reading, which I typically don't do too much of, but for some reason this month I was just in the mood to mood read, and so that's exactly what I did. I read most of the books that I had planned to read, but I also threw in some mood reads, and they were actually very good. So I'm glad that I did do some mood reading. So I'm going to try my best to go through like the bottom half of my list as fast as I can, because I know these videos can get long, and then I'll spend some more time talking about maybe my top 5s when we get to those. And coming in at number 13 is one of those mood reads I told you about, and it is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. And this is a thriller / mystery that I listened to on audiobook through my public library, and I picked it out because I'd heard so many good reviews about it online, and I just kind of got suckered or reeled into listening to it. And one of the booktubers that I listened to said that this was a weird thriller, and that is to say the least. This was a weird thriller. It was not for me. I did not enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. I'll tell you what it's about briefly. There is a writer who wins an opportunity to go to a writing retreat with her favorite author, and then mayhem and murder and the craziness ensues. And for the writing retreat, I did give it 2 stars on Goodreads. And that is number 13, The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. Coming in at number 12 is Passing by Nella Larsen. This is, as the title implies, a story about a black woman passing for white I think she's in Chicago and New York. And the reason I picked this one up was because I saw this movie on Netflix, and I just wanted to read the book to see if it was any different, if it was any better, and it wasn't. It wasn't any different or any better. This book was just meh for me. There was nothing really exciting about it. No real drama in it until the very end. So I gave this one 3 stars on Goodreads. That's number 12, Passing by Nella Larsen. And coming in at number 11 is Stamped by Jason Reynolds. Now this book is about the birth of racism in America, and overall the book was pretty good, but there was something that the author misstated near the very beginning. He misquoted a passage of scripture, and as a Bible study person, I don't consider myself a scholar, but I do study my Bible, and I knew that what he said was not correct, and so it threw me off, and I really could not stay engaged with the rest of the book. I mean, I read it, but I was thinking, are you telling me the truth here? Because you misquoted something from scripture early on in this book, and that makes me wonder, do you have the rest of your facts straight? So yeah, this one was disappointing for me because I'm not sure if I can trust the history that you're presenting. So yeah, I gave this one 3 stars also. This is Stamped by Jason Reynolds, and it came in at number 11. And coming in at number 10 is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. And I think this was my biggest disappointment for the month of June. I was so looking forward to reading this book. I kind of waited till later on in the month because I thought it was going to be a wow book for me, and it really was not. I didn't care about the main characters at all. I thought they were 2 spoiled brats. The story takes place in the present and also in the past, and I felt like the seams between the present and the past were not always created smoothly or seamlessly. And I also just wanted the author to go in the past and stay there, because that was where the really juicy parts of the story were taking place, was in the past. So I cared more about the minor characters than I did the 2 main characters who are siblings, Benny and Byron. I did not like them as characters at all. I thought they were just 2 spoiled brats. I just didn't like those characters at all. I liked their mom. I liked the mom's friends, the dad, but these were, I mean, I guess they were main characters as well, but in the beginning, Benny and Byron are pushed kind of as the main characters, and I did not like them. So this book, and the other thing, I felt like this author, and this is her debut novel to my understanding, I felt like this author was trying to put 4 books in one book. Like there was so many different stories she was trying to tell, and it was overwhelming, and there were like 3 stories that you just could have left those out. You could have left those out and this book would have been a lot more solid. But this was a disappointment for me, and this came in at number 10, and this is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I did give it 3 stars on Goodreads. Okay, coming in at number 9 is another one of my mood reads, and this was a thriller called Daisy Darker, and it's by Alice Feeney. I think I ended up reading so many thrillers this month because I was watching Books and Lala and a couple of other YouTubers who like to read thrillers and mysteries, and I think I kind of got sucked into reading some thrillers. And she's not the one that recommended The Writing Retreat. There was another YouTuber that recommended The Writing Retreat, but Daisy Darker was actually a good selection. It was kind of creepy. It kind of reminded me of a good Agatha Christie mystery, kind of like a Then There Were None type of mystery where this family meets up at the grandma's old home, and they haven't seen each other in a long time, and then family members start dropping like flies and you're trying to figure out who done it. So it was very entertaining, a little on the creepy side. I did give this one 4 stars. It was a mood read, not a part of my agenda or my TBR for the month, but I'm so glad I read it because I really enjoyed it. That was Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. 4 stars on Goodreads. And another mood read comes in at number 8, and that is One of Us is Dead, and this is by Geneva Rose. And this one was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It's about a group of friends, almost like some Housewives of Atlanta type of friends. The wives are wealthy and they all get together at this hair salon, or it's like a salon, and they get their hair done and they get their nails done, and they gossip and they spill the tea. And in the beginning of the book, we're told that someone was killed, but we don't know who it is until the very end. So it was so fun to read this one. I think I listened to this one in one day, like in 24 hours. I have another one like that too. That was an audiobook that was super fun. It was super fast. It was interesting. The characters were interesting, and I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. If you like mysteries, if you like whodunits, I think you'll really enjoy One of Us is Dead by Geneva Rose. I gave that one 4 stars on Goodreads. And coming in at number 7 is Sister Mother Warrior by Vanessa Riley. This one was pretty good for me. What I really enjoyed about this one was not so much the writing, but I enjoyed learning more about the Haitian Revolution and Toussaint Louverture, and oh my gosh, what's his right-hand man's name? Jean-Jacques Dessalines was Toussaint Louverture's right-hand man. This story is more about Jean-Jacques Dessalines and his wife and his family, and the drama. Y'all know I love historic fiction. So once I figured out this was a true story and based on a true story, I was sucked in. So this was the writing was not really my style. It took me a while to get used to the author's writing style, but what kept me coming back was the story of Jean-Jacques Dessalines and his role in the Haitian Revolution. When I tell you the Haitian Revolution wasn't no joke, okay? The Haitian Revolution was no joke, and I really did not know as much about it as I think I should know. And I mean, I probably learned some of this in high school, but I mean, who remembers all of that from high school, right? So it was good to have this novel really personalize and capture the faces and the names of the people who were really involved in the Haitian Revolution. So I thought this was really good. And this is by Vanessa Riley. I did give it 4 stars, and this is Sister Mother Warrior, and I do recommend it. It's a great book if you want to learn more about the Haitian Revolution. So this was number 7. Sister Mother Warrior. And coming in at number 6 is my only picture book for the month, and that is Born on the Water. And this book really talks about children who were born in the Middle Passage, and how they became like a new culture of people, because you have people from all over the continent, especially all over West Africa, coming together on these slave ships, and then even all over the Caribbean. You know, they're being shipped all over the Caribbean, and a new culture of people is born out of all of these African people coming together. And so the thought behind this book is this new culture was born on the water in this transatlantic slave Middle Passage. because you've got families that you have people that end up in these various and sundry locations from all over West Africa and the Caribbean, and now they're becoming one culture. So the illustrations are beautiful. Here's one of the slave ship, and I'll give you another one. But it really talks about holding on to your history and your culture. So beautifully illustrated, and really talking about the coming together of different cultures and different African and Caribbean people. Different people from all over West Africa coming together to build this new culture. This is number 6 on my list this month, Born on the Water by Nicole Hanna. Okay, coming in at number 5 is my book club selection for this month. I am a part of a really fun book club, and this was the book that we selected for this month, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now y'all already know how I feel about Taylor Jenkins Reid, so this was another hit for me. It's about Mick Riva, who we met in The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. He was one of Evelyn Hugo's husbands, and now we see his story really developed, and we dive deeper into his story and his family. He is married to, I think her name is June, and they have 3-4 children together. The children are Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit. And the story takes place over 24 hours, but we also flash back to the past to uncover more about what led us to this moment in time in the present. And there's one thing about Taylor Jenkins Reid, well, one of the many things I love about her writing. She blends the past and the present together so seamlessly. It is so smooth and so well done. I adore the way that she does that. I mean, it's just, it is chef's kiss. So we follow the 4 siblings over a 24-hour period, flashback to the past and how they got to this moment. And what stood out to me about them was the unity and the love that these 4 siblings have for each other. And it also reminded me of, you know, celebrity kids. You think you know their life because you see their parents on TV, but you really don't know what all they're going through behind closed doors. You really don't know what's going on with them behind the scenes. Things could be really tricky behind closed doors. So a fire takes place. It's a lot of drama, a lot of family drama, a lot of surprises. But this was a really, really good, well-written book, a great read for the summer. I did give this one 5 stars. This was my first 5-star for the month. And I really loved this one, and it was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and this came in at number 5 for me this month. Okay, coming in at number 4 is another one of my mood reads for the month, and this one is Miss Pearlie's Girls. Now, Miss Pearlie's Girls was a surprise for me. How much I absolutely adored it. This is another book that I listened to on an audiobook through my public library. And when I tell you, I fell in love with this book right away. I was captivated from the very beginning, listened to this whole audiobook in one day. I literally laughed out loud while listening to this book. The characters were so relatable. It was like this was a story happening to my cousins or my next door neighbors or people I go to church with or close friends. It was so real. The dialogue was so real and so relatable. Now, I will say some devastating things happen in the book, but the author's style, the author is Rashonda Billingsley, and this author is an expert at writing relatable dialogue. So I really loved this one. I did rate it 5 stars. It was a big surprise and a much needed belly laugh for me for this month, and that is Miss Pearlie's Girls, and I highly recommend that you read it. It was a great, great, great story. Coming in at number 4 is Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins Valdez. I am so glad that I enjoyed this book because last month or 2 months ago I had to DNF, did not finish, a book by Dolen Perkins Valdez, and I was so disappointed. But she has redeemed herself with me because I truly enjoyed Take My Hand. This is a story about, how much do I want to tell you in advance? It's about protecting women's right to choose, protecting women's health, in particular poor Black women in the South in the 60s. This main character, her name is Civil, like civil rights, Civil Townsend, and she is a nurse, and she has a lot of compassion and care for the community. And some things start going down in the medical facility where she works that she is not in agreement with, and she has to make some tough choices. I don't want to tell you too much because I think the less you go in with, the better this book is going to read for you, not knowing too much. But this was another historical fiction, which you guys know I love, and it's based on a true set of circumstances that did take place in many cities around the country in terms of women's health and women's right to choose and women's fertility here in the United States, in mainly in the South, I would think. But it made me want to do more research. The book was well written. There were some humorous moments in here because this was some pretty heavy content, but there were a few humorous moments in here, and I did enjoy this book quite a bit. I did give it 5 stars on Goodreads, and this was number 4 for me, and that is Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins Valdez. All right, we're at the top 2 of my reads for the month. This was another mood read. However, it does fit in with my theme of the African diaspora. This is Slay by Brittany Morris. And when I say I enjoyed this book, I thoroughly enjoyed this book from the first word to the last word. So, there is a main character, and her name is Kiara Johnson, and she creates a video game for and about Black people all over the world. She creates a safe space for Black gamers to come and enjoy gaming without the online trolls that like to come in and make racist comments toward Black people in the gaming community. I am a light gamer. Like, I play Disney Dreamlight Valley. I used to play Animal Crossing, especially during the pandemic. But I have 2 sons who are big time gamers, and they have told me that there are oftentimes trolls in the comments that make racist comments. Online. So this young girl, Kiara Johnson, came up with this game specifically for this reason, so that Black gamers could have a place to just be themselves and be safe and not have to worry about the racism and the stupidity that you can find online very often. And someone finds out about it. An incident happens that brings the game to the media, the mass media, and it's a very bad incident. So people start complaining about this game that's designed just for Black people, and it becomes a very complicated situation. But this main character, Kiera Johnson, she is so smart, so savvy, so creative, so powerful and confident in her own right. And she just marches through these various circumstances with her head on straight, just moving forward. I love her character. I love the world of the game. It's so beautifully designed. And I love the powers that you have in the game that are all like black cultural things. Like one of them is who brought the potato salad? Because you know, in the black community, when we go to cookouts and family events, that's one of the questions that we often ask. Who made that potato salad? Because everybody's potato salad ain't good. And then there's other powers like, I think it's like the death stare, which is a really good one, or whip my hair is another power that you can get in the game. But they're all powers that are related to the black culture that most people would recognize if they saw them. So all of that just made for such a great read. The ending is good. All of the characters are solid. This is the book that I didn't know I needed in my life. And I enjoyed every single minute of it. And I listened to this one on an audiobook. I was just scrolling through my library's options of audiobooks that were available to borrow immediately, and this is one that popped up, and I listened to it on audio. And then when I finished listening to it, I went and bought a copy of the book, because it's just like, this is one that needs to be in my library. And I went through and highlighted some important passages for me from this book. So that is number 2, Slay by Brittany Morris, the book I didn't know I needed. And finally, coming in at number 1 is River, Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer. Where do I begin with this book? Y'all know I love, love, love historical fiction. And this is another fantastic work of historical fiction. Also about the Caribbean. It's also about the Caribbean, and it is about the end of slavery in the Caribbean, and the fact that in this particular area, the slave owners were allowed to do something called apprenticeship, where you still stayed on the plantation. It's almost like sharecropping, but not even as good as sharecropping. You know, you got to stay on the plantation and you continued to work for them, but there was supposed to be a time limit now where they could only keep you for 6 years, and then they had to ask you again if you wanted to continue to stay, or they had to let you go. But the treatment of the apprentices, and I put that in air quotes, was still bad. So Rachel, the main character in this book, decides that she does not want to be an apprentice. She's good on that. And she leaves the plantation, and unfortunately she has lost all of her children over the years of her being enslaved. And she is on a mission to find all of her children. And it is such a beautifully written saga / adventure that she goes on. This epic adventure that she goes on in search of her children. And I like to compare this author's writing to Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is my favorite writer, hands down, period. And Eleanor Shearer is like Toni Morrison light. And I say light because I don't have to pull out my dictionary to read this book. But well written. The characters were lovable. Either you loved them or you hated them, but I enjoyed reading about them. The story was fast paced. It wasn't depressing. You know how sometimes you can read some slave stories and it's just one bad thing that happens after another and they can't ever seem to get ahead, kind of like Good Times. The family just never could get ahead. This book is not like that. This book is not like that. Rachel overcomes so many obstacles in her search to find her children. Now, are there some sad moments? Yes, because this was a sad period of time, but victory is often experienced by the characters in this novel. And it is based on a true story. There is a mother, Rachel, I think she's from Barbados or Antigua, and she actually left slavery and or at the end of slavery in that Caribbean country, she decided to look for her children. And so this is also based on a true story. And I thought it was a fantastic read. It was a pleasure for me to give this book 5 stars. This is Eleanor Shearer's first novel, her debut novel, and I am looking forward to reading more from her. My #1 book for this month, Rivers Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer. I highly recommend this one. Highly, highly recommend it. And that's going to do it for me, y'all, for my book ratings for this month. I hope this video isn't too terribly long, because now I want to quickly give you the overhead view of my journal and show you how all of my stats came together for this month. So here we go. Okay, I'm going to try to make this portion of the video pretty quick because I know this video is probably getting pretty long. So this is my main page here where I have my calendar for the month. And this calendar also shows when I started and finished reading different books. And I also have my list of books read down here on the side. And then I also have my pages read. I did skip reading quite a few days. I forgot to talk about that. I had some days when I just did not feel like reading this month as well. On the 3rd, the 26th, 25th, 29th. But for the rest of the days, I read quite a bit. I'm trying to get into the habit of reading at least 100 pages a day when I read. So I also have my by chapter, which I've mentioned before in previous videos. This page is not really working for me because I don't really have enough room in this one page when I'm reading so many books to document all the chapters. So I'm just kind of using this to fill up space right now, but it's not really functioning the way that it should, to be honest with you. So I may do something different with this section next year, or I may find a different way to document the chapters. I'm still giving that some thought. For my stats, the total books read was 13, total books bought was 10, total pages read was the most I've read so far this year in 1 month, and that is 3,949. Average star rating was 4.8, and that's because I had quite a few 5 stars this month. I think I had 5 stars, so that was good. My favorite character this month was Rachel from Rivers Sing Me Home. My worst character this month was Rosa Vallow from The Writing Retreat. She was a nutcase, and I did not like her. These are some quotes that I got from, these are my quotes that I documented from several of the books. One of my favorites was, "We all got our gifts, the things we see that others can't. All we can do is use them when the time comes." And that's, Rachel said that in Rivers Sing Me Home. Got a couple more quotes here, one from Slay. Oh, this is a good one. "All I ever wanted to do was escape into this magical world where for once I don't have to act a certain way because I'm black." And that's from Slay by Brittany Mars. And then here are my book reviews. I did a book review, I think, for my top 5. So here is Take My Hand. And they're just very simple. I just printed some pictures out that are not the covers of the book, but just images that kind of represent the story to me. So there's Take My Hand, the lady with her hand out. There's Miss Pearlie's Girl. She actually had 4 daughters, but I just like this photo, so I used that as my image. And then Slay, I did use the cover of the book there. And then Malibu Rising, this was our book club pick, so I've got some pictures from Pinterest, and then a picture of us at the restaurant when we had our meetup, and then my thoughts on the book there in the middle. And then I did do a 2-page spread for my favorite book of the month, which was River Sing Me Home, and this sticker came from Versed Planning, and then this is an image I found on Pinterest with a river because that's the river plays a very big part in the novel. So that's pretty much it. I might take a look in the back at my stats for the month. I like to have this chart where I can look at my stats at a glance from month to month. So again, we've got 10 books bought, 13 read. I read for 26 days, read 3,949 pages. Average rating was 4.8. I had 5 4-star books, 5 5-star books. I read 4 historic fictions, no romance, no graphic novels, 3 just regular fiction, no fantasy this month, 1 nonfiction, 1 picture book, 3 thrillers, and 1 YA. So I love having this as an overview to kind of look and see what I am reading each month. So that's going to do it for me, y'all, for this video. Thank you so much for staying with me. If you are here at the end of this video, if you're staying with me all the way to the end, please let me know which book I reviewed that you have either read already or that you would like to read in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a big thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to click the notification bell as well, so you'll be notified every time I post new content right here for you. I hope that you are reading some good books, and I hope that your month is full of love, joy, and most of all, peace. I'll see you next time.